I want to be like full vision of Jordan, so I didn't sit too close.
You want to be right here with me?
It happened so fast.
I don't want to impose.
Like, you just got
Bro, nice. Good.
Wow, you guys did a good job listening. I'm impressed.
You guys are matching again. In the marching band shoes.
These are marching band shoes?
Oh no.
Yeah, they just look like marching band shoes with spats on them.
Oh no.
She's talking about spats. No, it's like
Not the 11s. Not the 11s.
that's what I said they should model.
No,
That'd be
That's
dope.
so crazy.
if ours look like half as cool as those,
Oh,
yeah.
he probably knows.
Make sure there's a big stripe on it. I'll be happy with your
All right, well, I think we're going to get started here. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm not standing on stage because I can't compete with the footwear up here, the sneakers. I'm down here. But thanks again for joining us. I'm Jennifer Nolfi. I'm the director of the Masters in Sports Product Management program here. We are so fortunate to have many friends here in the audience and appreciate you for being here. I know we have a few new faces, so I'm just going to provide just a little bit of background about our program, especially because I know we have a lot of people joining us online, and then I'm going to turn it over to these amazing people, to Pilar next. So the Masters in Sports Product Management program is that focuses on the business of product creation from concept to market. We officially started the program about 10 years ago, and our students have immersive experiences. They're taught by people from the industry. 95% of our faculty are from the industry. They do industry projects. They do hands-on learning in our state-of-the-art innovation lab, and they go on a global trip to Asia where they really get to see manufacturing and the retail marketplace come up in a different way. We have over 400 alums, and 90% are working in the industry. So industry engagement is a critical component of our program, teaching the classes. We're located in the global epicenter of the industry, and we have amazing people like Vanessa mentoring our students and really providing them that hands-on applied learning so that they can go out and make a difference in the world. So tonight's program, we're pleased to have the Portland Soaring Together series. This program is really to feature different people leading in the industry and making a positive impact. And obviously, women leading in the industry, there's a huge opportunity and need for more women leaders in the industry. So tonight, we're happy to feature Vanessa and have two future leaders, current SPM students. Pilar will kick us off, and then I'm going to hand it over to Vanessa and Jordan to take us home. So thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to an exciting discussion.
I get the honor to introduce these two amazing people this evening. We're going to start off the evening with kind of a moderated conversation and then move into Q&A. So please save your questions to that portion of the night. Same thing for online. Feel free to drop those in the chat box, and Tyler will keep track, and we'll have an opportunity to answer those as well. So many of you already know Jordan. She is a former Division I women's basketball player with a background in electrical engineering, originally from New York. She earned a BS in electrical engineering from the University of Dayton in 2020 while competing as a Division I athlete. After her playing career, she worked as an electrical engineer while also coaching, staying connected to the game. Over time, her passion expanded beyond engineering and coaching. She became drawn to the products athletes rely on and their impact on performance, accessibility, and inclusivity. This passion led her to the University of Oregon Sports Product Management Master's program, where she focuses on understanding and addressing the needs of consumers, specifically women in sports and youth. Her mission is to empower individuals with diverse needs, as others have empowered her, so that everyone can achieve the best versions of themselves. Hey. Then, of course, the reason many of you are here today, our keynote speaker is Vanessa Gidden. Vanessa is a powerhouse in the world of sports product merchandising and athlete development, currently leading as the global merchant for Jordan women's sports footwear and apparel at Nike, with a track record of driving business growth while she has played a pivotal role in elevating product strategies, strengthening global partnerships, and fueling the expansion of women's sports. From spearheading collaborations in football and basketball to optimizing assortments for major leagues, Vanessa's leadership has left an undeniable mark on the industry. Beyond her corporate success, she is sought after speaker and advocate for inclusivity in sports, having represented women in Nike and spoken at major industry events. A former professional basketball player with an international career spanning over a decade, Vanessa has competed at the highest levels, including the WNBA and national teams across Europe, South America, and the Caribbean. Off the court, she is the founder of V's Hoops, an organization dedicated to empowering young athletes through training, mentorship, and scholarship opportunities. Recognized for her commitment to youth development, she is honored with the 2023 Champion for Youth Award. Passionate about unlocking potential both on and off the field, Vanessa continues to shape the future of sports, inspiring the next generation of athletes and industry leaders. I would like to now pass the mic to Jordan and Vanessa. Thank you both for being here, and we are really excited to hear from you.
So just want to start off and just say how grateful I am to have this opportunity with Vanessa. This came through a connection of a childhood coach that we both had the opportunity of playing under and being mentored under. Very grateful for him. I know he's online right now watching us. So truly grateful to be here with you and have the opportunity to share your story with them, and hoping to look to be in your position in the next 10 to 15 years as well. So just to kick it off, Pilar touched on a little bit. You had an incredible journey as an athlete, now working for Jordan. Can you just take us through your story and your journey so far?
First of all, thank you all for having me. I'm so overwhelmed by, just the warm welcome that I've had. And this is really the start of the show, so I don't know what she's talking about. Very, very excited to be here. As a former professional athlete, my career didn't start there. Obviously, I was one of many kids going for probably the same goals, but mine was a little different in the way that I approached it. So as a child that grew up in Jamaica, I am an immigrant and I came to the United States for an opportunity with my mom really put in her best foot first to get me here. And with Caribbean parents, you know that when you come to the United States, you have to make something of yourself. So in order to do that, I knew that I needed to be exceptional, right? So I put the time in. I remember my high school coach telling my mom that, oh, she's gonna be a pro. I was running around tripping over my feet, and he was like, yeah, she's gonna be a pro. The reason why he said that is because I woke up at maybe 5 a.m., 6 a.m. to go to practices that I didn't need to be at. I was following in my sister's footsteps. She started playing basketball long before I did, but I wanted to always be like Big Sis. So I went to practices and I really trained to become a basketball player at another level. I heard that there was an opportunity to get a scholarship if I became really good at it. So I put the time in and I was able to get a full scholarship to go to Hofstra University. My main goal was to not become a professional basketball player. I actually wanted to be an accountant. It's so funny. That's where my career, I really pushed to try to get into the Hofstra University Business School, where I received my degree, and later on was told that I had an opportunity to play professional basketball, play for the Connecticut Suns and the Minnesota Lynx, and also played in Europe for Turkey, Finland, Romania, Italy, Israel, Spain, Poland, Angola. Had an opportunity to go back and play for the Jamaican national team, where I won gold medals and silver medal and bronze. That was something I took pride in, to be able to go back to a country that I didn't learn basketball at, because the main sport there was, what we're good at, track and field. And I was never a runner. But yes, I was super excited to go back, and I took pride in going back and playing for my country. And later on, obviously retired and hung it up. I started 2 organizations, which is V's Hoops and also Athlete for Athletes, where I mentor young athletes and also professional athletes how to navigate the space. So, which leads me to my career here at Nike. yeah, started on global football, and now I'm in Jordan women's sport, which I'm super, super excited about. It's just a different feeling to be on the other side of it, where you can certainly impact the athlete in a different way. So I take great pride in what I do at the company. I always tell my group, I'm like, y'all know this is not really just a job for me. Sometimes they're like, go home, V. I'm like, listen, I got to get done. So no, I have so much passion for what I do. And I think that you never feel like, the quote, you never feel like you're at work if you enjoy what you're doing. And that's really what I feel like I'm living my true passion. So enough of my talking. Going back to this star right here.
So you touched on a little bit your cultural background, right? I think that's one of the first things that we connected on, that Jamaican heritage and background. Had the opportunity to meet somebody who had the same background, and the joke was like, you know, you come here and your grandparents and parents like, you're either going to be a doctor or you're going to be an engineer. I checked one of the boxes apparently, clearly switching up on that. So just kind of wanted to touch on how your culture has influenced your leadership style and how you approach your work from those experiences.
Yeah, like I think what I said before, it's more so we have no opportunity to fail, right? That's not an option. Coming to the United States and making a life for yourself as an immigrant child, it is not an option to fail. So when I approach my job, it's more so I want to be the best at it. You're never going to be perfect, but you always just put your entire passion into what you're doing. So yeah, we're always looking for the top. And when we get to the top, there's always another top to get to.
Awesome. I was going to switch gears here, kind of go back to your professional playing days. I know one of the biggest things I've struggled with is almost like imposter syndrome in terms of like leaving the athlete life behind, right? I know a lot of us can relate in that aspect, being former athletes in high school and being kind of in a gray space where you're like, what do I do now? Like, this was my life, this is who I am, and I know I've reflected a lot in the last few months myself, kind of looking back like, hey, there's more to Jordan out there. Who is she? So what was the transition like for you? Were there specific lessons or opportunities that you were given to put you in the position that you are in today?
You know, I say my transition was a blessing, and also the reason why I feel super blessed by my transition is because I started my transition before the transition, and that was the key for me. I've seen a lot of professional athletes, both men and women, struggle to leave the game and go to the post career, right? When I started basketball, I had a goal. My goal wasn't just to be a basketball player. I never wanted to be seen just as a basketball player. So when I attended the University of Hofstra University, I had a goal. And I knew one day I was going to have to fall back on that goal, right? So even what I tell my students, I always say, you know, A before B. When I coach young kids, I say A before B. Because at the end of the day, one day you're going to hang that shoe up and you're going to have to, you know, go back to A, right? So I started my transition. I started my organization after my first year playing basketball. I always knew that I was going to be a teacher of sport one day. And also, honestly, Nike wasn't really in the vision, but I'll tell you how I got there. But I started even athlete for athletes when I realized that I was coming up on the end of my career. I started what you guys are doing, networking, making sure that I am in the right spaces. So it's very important for you to like take a hold of your career before the time comes. You don't start doing your networking. You don't start preparing for the opportunity when the opportunity arrives. You prepare before the opportunity arrives so you can actually have a smoother transition. I remember telling my teammate about my organization. I'm going to tell you how I got to Nike. And I was like, girl, you have to hear about this organization that I started. I'm super excited about it. And she literally stopped me mid-sentence. It was Christian Rasmussen. She actually works at Nike. And she says, Nike needs you. I'm like, wait, you talking about the swoosh, the one that I'm wearing? And she's like, yes. they need you. And she asked me if there was an opportunity for me to she asked if she can enter my name into the next cohort. I said, yeah, girl, go ahead. So let me tell you about this organization, because I'm not thinking that even the dream of Nike could be possible, right? Long story short, they reached out to me. I had an opportunity to interview with 3 different managers, and I was super blessed to be on Cristiano Pinto's team in global football, and really, just really, really appreciative of that experience because it prepared me for the role that I am in now. And the next step to my to where I am right now is in the Jordan brand. I knew when I got to Nike, I wanted to be in a Jordan brand. You know, I love me some J's now. And but I felt like I wanted to stay authentic to me, right? I'm a former athlete, and I knew Jordan brand was a little, you know, I'm a little swaggy today, but they're really swaggy over there, right? They have really good style. And I was thinking, man, they don't have anything for me yet. Now, a role opened up in Jordan women's sport. And I told everyone, I said, that's the role that I want. And I went for the role. And my manager said, you're only applying to one role? I said, yes, that's the role that I want. And he's like, you are crazy. Do you see how many job opportunities that are open? You need to apply for all of these. These are all opportunities. I was like, if I don't get this role, you are stuck with me for the next few years. But this is the role that I want. And I was super blessed to be that Brent Henderson took a chance on me and really saw the opportunity that I could bring to that team. And now I'm sitting in Jordan Women's Sport, living my dream. So
Beautiful. Beautiful. I think one of the biggest things I just took away from listening to you is just your confidence, right? Like being authentic to you. I think we've had really good conversations about how I could personally make a wave in this industry. And I think what all of you should take away from it is just being authentic to you, right? The confidence. I mean, I know we're told apply to this, apply to that, but if there's something you really want, go for it. And that athlete's mindset, I think, is a big part of that.
yes.
And touching on that athlete's mindset, obviously, you're in a merchandising role. That's one of the positions that we've been learning about in our coursework here. How does your athlete's mindset influence your perspective in the way you think about product, strategy, your daily work that you do?
Great question. She always comes really hard at me, you know. So, you know, being a former athlete, being in the merchandising role is very, it's a great asset. Now, starting in global football in a sport I knew nothing about, I became a big football fan at the end of the day. And playing in Spain with Barcelona being my favorite team, I don't know who likes Real Madrid, but Barcelona was my team. I still didn't know much about global football. But now stepping into the role of women's sport, being able to also mix the art and science with it. I knew I had the art with being the former athlete. I almost know what the athlete needs. But at the same time, I have to continuously study what the new athletes, because it's a little different, right? So we're continuously changing, and I need to move with the change. I also have to make sure that I connect with all my geographies, not just thinking about North America or, you know, the areas that I'm used to. I have to connect with all geographies because I'm at the global level, right? And I can't think under my own understanding of what the athlete needs. I always have to start with the consumer first, and then it comes back to like what we need to solve, right? So, but it does influence, like I have great influence in my role being a former professional basketball player. Because for example, when I remember wearing the Hyper Dunks, 2017 Hyper Dunks, man, I'm like, Nike, what y'all do? Y'all got away from the 2000. I was so upset at Nike. I'm like, I can't find the shoe. I retired in 2021 or 2020 in the 2017 Hyper Dunks. I was going all over the place on GOAT, on Amazon, anywhere that could have it, because those were the ones that fit my feet, and those were the ones that I wanted to play. And as athletes, we have a routine. We saw Luca with his shoes. Sometimes we needed him to switch it up. But we have this thing about we want to stick to what we know, right? So I keep that in mind with when I make products now too. What does the athlete need, and how much do we need to change our products? And even if we change it, how much do we need to change it? So yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Just to switch gears a little bit, as we know, it is Black History Month, and I think it's important to touch on those areas and have our voices amplified in times like this. So, as a Black woman in leadership, how have you navigated this space, and what advice would you give to others looking to break into the industry?
Wow. As a Black woman in this space, it means a lot. It means a lot. I think that sometimes there are ceilings that are put below where you feel like you're expected to go yourself, right? Sometimes the ceiling is a little lower, but our jobs is to break through that ceiling, right? And also for me in this space, I feel like I have to be authentic to who I am. I think that's the main thing. I don't need to be like someone else. I know when I show up in this space, I show up fully as myself, and I know that's how I'm going to grow in this space, is to continue being myself. It means a lot to represent as a Black woman for many reasons, more than one. But it even means more to me to stretch my hands to another Black woman in this space, or even everyone. You extend the reach to everyone. Being in a space as a Black woman, it's a space that one you never thought you would sit in. So you embrace it and you take on a different level of leadership. You know that you're never going to be perfect, but you try your best. So, yeah.
And just on the flip side of that, I know I've had a lot of conversations with family and friends who obviously don't look like us. They're different, but they want to be supportive. How can they be an ally to you or to myself? How can they support you in this space to help us continue to rise? Because I think right now we're pretty stagnant, right? Like we've definitely gotten the roles, but there's no next step for us yet. How can they continue to push us forward?
I think that we just all have to hold hands, right? We're not in the space alone, and it's important for us to just continue to hold hands and encourage each other. Exactly what we're doing here today is what we need to continue to do, and reach beyond even color, reach beyond even that. We just need to, as leaders, I think we need to even take the Black out of it. As leaders, we need to reach out to the next person. So.
Okay. So with the incredible growth within women's sports and women's products, how do you see brands evolving to meet the needs of today's female athletes? Where do you see the biggest opportunities for innovation in footwear and apparel? So going back to kind of what you're doing on a daily basis now.
Oh, wow. These new age athletes, they're different, man. Sometimes I want to lace up and go back out there, but I said, all right, sit down. It's not your time. Your time has passed. No, I think I'm so excited about where the game is right now. Oh my God. We have, I said the other day that my university owes me some money. Because
they owe me a lot of money.
Yeah, I know, right? Come on.
It says $0. I said, I don't know about that.
The NIL deals that we have, I am so excited to see that. I don't want to be that person. Back in my days, we never had NIL deals, and but to see how the new athletes are really getting the opportunity to get seen, especially women. We were not seen before. We were always super talented. We were always super stylish. We were always very marketable, but no one was seeing us. And it's so good to see how we are now seeing the athlete. Being in this seat in Jordan women's sport, it is an opportunity for myself and even other brands to shape the future of our products to fit where these athletes are. We cannot stay in this box of where we've always been. Oh, the basketball player is just this. No, she is way more than just a basketball player. We need to meet her on the court, we need to meet her off the court, and we need to be able to serve her every need. So she's not just a shorts and t-shirt girl anymore. She wants everything, you know? So in this space, I feel like I'm in a seat where I can actually serve her the proper way.
Yeah, I think we're definitely entering a space here where the inclusivity of women's sports is definitely growing. Still a lot of work to do. I know we had the opportunity to go overseas
Yes.
in Europe, and I was honestly surprised at the lack of female awareness they had out there. Like, I thought we were behind here in the US. They are extremely behind. I know you work globally. How do you see your impact? I don't know if there are things you could share about what you're looking forward to kind of match that globally, because I think the US is doing a better job of it, but the rest of the world is still trying to catch up.
Yeah, I think that globally, being at the global level, you're able to influence, right, and impact. So, as no being in a space that one, this is where being a former athlete and playing overseas and actually seeing the different cultures, and that really comes in handy now, you know. So my goal is to educate our geographies also, you know. The WNBA is actually the influencer of all countries, of all women's basketball. It has actually grown bigger than where it was years ago, so we have to take notes, right? So I always communicate with my geographies to make sure that we're keeping up with the trends and, you know, educating them on where we are, because they are a little bit behind, but it's my job to make sure that we educate them and also kind of meet them where they are.
Also, to go along with that, are there any other personal areas you think that the industry should be heading towards, or we should be looking to develop or grow besides women? I think there's a lot of other gaps and opportunities that we're starting to see pop up here and there with smaller brands. So I don't know what your take is on that.
Yeah, I mean, the sport industry is wide open for anyone to kick the door down. We obviously saw um, companies like small brands coming in. I'm pretty sure you guys saw the whole scams Nike. Ooh, okay. So I think there's so much opportunity for a lot of brands, and for us to continue to step our game up, because smaller brands can have way in to take ownership of that space if we don't do more in the space. So there is so many opportunity in sport that we can continue to tap into. Off the top of my head, we'll get back to you on that one.
Speaking of opportunity, obviously we're in a space where we want to grow, and my goal is to be the best version of myself. I'm sure you want to do as well. What is your North Star? Where do you see yourself going in the next 5 to 10 years? What are your goals, your aspirations within this industry?
Oh wow! Yeah, I already told you I'm Jamaican, right?
I know.
So,
Well done.
yeah, you know, for me when I came to Nike, I had one goal, is to be the best version of myself. And what the best version of myself is to, one, show up every day and give my 100%. I feel like if I give 100%, then when I say the next my North Star to you, it will make more sense, right? So some people always say, shoot for the star, you might land on the, no. One day, hopefully I'll be the CEO. Now, if you get there, you have to work hard, right? And I'm not just throwing that out there. That's a goal. And maybe I might land on the, what is it, moon, star?
Yeah.
You know? But I know the process that I have to put in every day to be a better person, to be a better industry leader, to be merchandise excellence, to reach those. I continue to work at myself every day. You can't say you want to be something and you sit back and get comfortable. If you sit back and get comfortable if your job becomes too easy for you, then you're just going through the motion at this point. If you feel like the fire to get up and do it every day, and then you're getting challenged, that's when you know you're doing something right. If you're getting everything right, it's time to move on, you know? Because sometimes we get so complacent in comfort spaces, like, oh, this is vanilla, this is good, I know everything here. No, my North Star is to be the best that I can be. And if it takes me to be the CEO, then that's where I'm going to be.
Now, just for some more tangible, we've gone through a lot of courses here, leadership, professional development, kind of learning about LDPs and our own whys. What do you do within, I don't know if it's with Jordan or Nike or personally, what do you do to kind of reach those goals? Do you have mentors? Do you kind of go through the same process as us?
Every level you go to, you have to have someone who is above where you are. Mentorship for me is super important. I might mentor someone else, but then I have 10 mentors. You know, we in the WIN program, when we first start, they say, reach out, we're going to give you one mentor. And by the end of my first year, I had about 10. And they're like, Vanessa, I mean, you're always in meetings. I'm like, yes, because I'm trying to learn. You know, I'm coming from an industry to this industry. You don't just get good at it. You know, you got to practice. It's just like playing basketball. If I wanted to, just like getting up at 6 a.m., right? So I tap into people who are willing to give. And one of the leaders that actually impacted my career when I first got to Nike, Latoya Kamara at Nike. I mean, I remember her teaching me merchandising, and I was like, man, the light bulb clicked. And she came to our group, and she did this exercise, and she taught us about, you know, the ins and outs. As soon as I got off the call with her, I put a reoccurring on her calendar. I think this lady, she was on maternity leave. I had a reoccurring. I was like, oh, I guess I got to cancel that, right? You know, but and sometimes you get tired of knocking on someone's door. Knock harder if they don't answer. I think I've heard teammates say, well, I've chased them, I've asked them, and no one got back to me. Well, you're gonna have to send your 100th email. Because if you want something, you have to go after it. And that's where I feel mentorship is super important. Larry Miller, who is the chairman of Jordan, I just met him in the elevator. He asked me about my shoe. And after that one meeting, he became one of my mentors. And I meet with him on a reoccurring basis. In each leader, you get something else from them. And you don't have to get everything from one leader. You just have to know. And sometimes you meet with one person and you say, it's not for me. But at least you met with them, you know?
Beautiful. Touching on the mentorship aspect, I know one of the biggest things that drew me to this space was the impact that I could give to other people. It's people like you that have made me want to be in this position. And I look back at the girls who are younger than me, and I'm like, they should have this opportunity as well. You talked about V's Hoop, you talked about Athletes for Athletes. Where do you see yourself making an impact in that space? What are some things that you're doing outside of work? Because I think one of the biggest things growing up for me playing basketball was like, okay, yeah, you played basketball, but what are you doing for the generation behind you? What are you doing for yourself and others? And I think you do an excellent job of balancing both of those areas.
Yeah, you know, Jordan, when I started both V's Hoops and Athlete for Athletes, I started both those organizations not because they were going to bring me so much money. It's because I had a purpose and I had a vision, and I was that little girl that didn't really have much to look up to as far as players who came before and wanted to reach the hand back. And in my community, Stamford, Connecticut, where I'm from, I saw many young girls needing that opportunity, needed someone to tell them that you can, you know? And just because one person told me that I can, he wasn't a professional basketball player. It was my high school coach who passed away 2 years ago. But I always remember him just like believing in me. And sometimes it just takes one person to believe in you for you to get to that next level, right? So, with my organization and what I've started with that is to really try to impact the next generation of athletes. So, my North Star with that is to continue to grow that space and hopefully each person that interacts with my organization, they will feel like they are in a better space than they came. So,
Yeah, I think that's super impactful because I think we're all here for a greater reason. It's drilled into us about the consumer, consumer, consumer. But when you look at the consumer, they're an individual person. They're just like you. They were that little girl or that little boy just like you. So looking at it from the business aspect, but also your personal aspect and balancing that, I think is a beautiful thing that you've done. And it's truly inspirational. Like, give me chills up here again after our first conversation. Literally called my friend Nick about how the chills I had having that conversation with you. So absolutely amazing. And I want to open it up and give an opportunity for our next leaders and future individuals to ask some questions.
Yeah, I have a question. Just kind of curious with Caitlin Clark obviously signing recently, getting her shoe with Nike. Asia Wilson finally getting her flowers with Nike and getting her shoe, which is it's dope. I love it. I'm curious to know what you think about Jordan and kind of their signees for basketball and specifically women's basketball. We talked about it. We're kind of waiting to see who could represent Jordan because it's not a small feat. It's not a small ask to represent Jordan. It's really important. I want to.
do we have any sports marketing on the call? No. So it's so important for representation, right? Representation in women's sport is important. I think that what Nike's doing is amazing, and Jordan, obviously, we're almost like Nike's little brother, right? Little sister. And we are definitely in that space of trying to grow our women's business. And I'll have to say this, keep your eyes open. We got some things cooking. All right?
Let us know if you need help with that too.
Oh, listen, hey, you got some people in mind. Okay, write down some list of names before I leave here.
We'll start right here, Jordan.
Listen,
It's in the name. I mean, I'm
no,
just saying.
and her name is Jordan, right? Look at that.
Listen. Hi, John.
First off, thank you very much for being here. So it is very clear that you have a deep personal connection and experience with the consumer that you get to serve at Jordan. I think for a lot of us, we want to be in roles like yours where we have deep personal experience and connections with our consumer. What I'm curious about is where has that been able to really, really help you understand your consumer better? And where might that have also exposed blind spots to what the consumer might actually be saying?
You guys are coming with the heat today. Love it. You don't know what the consumer is saying until you start listening, right? So I think our team has done a great job with getting us out in the marketplace, talking to consumers, at any time that we're able to get in front of consumers is when we actually are able to understand them. And I didn't know that Nike or Jordan did this until I was in the seat. So we traveled to New York. Next month, I'll be going to the Final Four to talk to players there to see what's happening. Just in this room, this is a consumer insights. I'm looking at all you guys' feet and what you're wearing. So I think just to continue looking at, listen to what the consumer needs, and also being in the global space, I have to also listen to my geography partners, right? So my job entails communicating with all my geographies. I have North America, Greater China, APLA, which is Asia Pacific, Latin America, and we also have EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, Asia. So we always, we always make sure that we communicate with our geographies because there's no way sitting in HQ that we know what's happening all around the world, right? So we do a good job of getting out in the marketplace and also talking to our geo partners.
Thank you.
I know my cohort has questions. They always ask questions.
Got
I guess this question is more specific about. I was curious to know, in Jordan's sport, do you think the sport or like how do you balance sport versus style? Because I know that both are really important to the brand. So I'm just curious on like if you value one more than the other, or like how does that work in your opinion?
I mean, I need to bring them with me. Listen, so Jordan Sport, I feel like you guys are now getting familiar with Jordan Sport recently, right? You've always known probably Jordan as a streetwear brand, and you see a lot of the cool stuff that they make with the Travis, with the Tiana Taylors. They make really cool stuff. Both areas of business are very important. And we have seen that the brand has lifted up sport and continue to lift up sport because obviously it's a newer business and we are definitely in the space of growing and learning our consumers. So you will start to see the voice of Jordan women's sport a lot louder. To put in perspective, I'm the first merchant that singly sits on Jordan women's sport. As we went through a reorg, this is my seat now, but we were all rolled up into one before. So
Good question.
great question.
A little bit of how with Jordan Sport, is it expanding into different fields of play, especially with women as well, going forward?
So I'm gonna have you guys cook on that a little bit. I'll have to get back to you on that question. We're definitely looking to grow that space. As far as telling you what's in the future, you'll have to just wait and see, right? But great question. We're definitely in the space of basketball, and we're definitely going to continue to grow that space. But there's definitely other areas that we're looking to tap into.
I have a question.
Alex.
Sorry, all the way in the back. Sorry, not like the best attitude. So Jordan talked about female sports are not really visual in Europe. I'm from Asia, and I can tell there's non-existent. Like you think it's non-existent, you go to Asia. I've been to Korea, Japan, and China. Nothing. And I know Jordan Brand sponsored the national team in Japan when they won silver medal. And I thought they were gonna do something greater than that, but it has not been happening. Is it because there's like a cultural thing where sports is not viewed as not even as a hobby? Like if you do sports, you're kind of not viewed as a female to be kind of extreme. So I was wondering like how Jordan Brand's gonna tackle that issue and gonna shift the culture if it's possible.
I think that's a great question. Definitely an area for more so like a sports marketing area. I think that there's a lot of talent all over the world, and us as a sport brand, we are definitely looking for opportunity to show up uniquely in those spaces. And as you said, the sport was one. We were here before, and now we are here. So maybe you didn't see the visibility back then, but we are definitely working on making sure that we get to those untapped areas, if that answers your question. But yes, for future, we're looking to expand women's sport and hopefully impact more GOs.
Hi. Um, I have two questions. One's product focused, or kind of like, yeah, product focused. The other one is career focused. Um, I'll start with the career focused one. As a black woman in, well, in Jordan Brand, but starting at Nike, like, what, I guess, troubles or issues did you face, challenges did you face first entering in, and what challenges do you see still kind of happening for you?
You know, I think that first the woman part, and then you add black onto it, right? So it's it's always there's always going to be someone that thinks you're not supposed to be in that space, right? But the way that I've approached it is to continue to remind myself why I'm here. If I keep my eye on my purpose, then no one can shift me from the space, and no one can make me feel that I shouldn't be here, right? So what I continue to do is remind myself why I'm here, and everything else kind of fall in line. So to answer your question, yes, there's challenges of should you be here? Why are you here? Um, but I've faced those challenges head on, and definitely continue to elevate by reaching for my purpose.
I asked the second question. I think you hit on it a little bit earlier, but like Aja Wilson, of course, Caitlin Clark coming in, but just the product, not only the footwear for Aja, but the apparel was really like well thought through. Of course, it was very women's focused. The especially for Black women, like the silk line hoodies and things of that nature were super awesome. How is Jordan Brand thinking about incorporating that into some of their new styles and for apparel?
Yeah, great question. So, as I think there was a question earlier about how do we get to know our consumers, right? So each day I continue to study who the consumer is and to try to make product right for the consumer, right? So when we think about carefully thinking about her, um, there's a lot that goes into making a product. As you saw on the Asia side, right now, you would think about a signature athlete. We sit with a signature athlete, we talk about what's important to them, and then we try to bring it to life, right? As far as Jordan Women's Sport, we more so sit with the consumer and figure out what is right for her, and then we are bringing those to life. I think that it's so you guys are tripping me up now because I can't say a lot of stuff. But I do want you guys to keep your eye out on where Jordan Women's Sport is going, because where we've been probably a little quiet, we're going to get louder.
Yeah. And just to touch on that, I mean, we had this conversation. Like, I just felt like growing up, especially with the rise of EYBL and Jordan Brand Classic, McDonald's All American Game, that was a big forefront. And especially like Maya Moore, unfortunately, she doesn't play anymore. I wish she was still hooping. I want to watch her play. But you guys really honed in on her as an individual. I remember that feeling like the Asia at the time, and I was like, wow, that is the first like female Jordan Brand athlete that really represented like that Jordan mentality. And I just feel like in the last couple of years, it's kind of shifted into more of like a group or team, smaller athletes within that space. So I'm assuming you guys are trying to get back into that space of having a genuine face. Okay. Okay.
No comment.
Another kind of more career focused question. I really appreciate like how straightforward you are with your ambition, and it's super clear how passionate you are about your consumer, the her. And a lot of people have told us, especially in our cohort, that like the further up you go, the further you get from the consumer. Like it's easy in leadership to get more detached. And so I'm kind of curious, like with your very intentional approach to your career, how do you plan to stay close to her, even as you like progress through that career?
That's such a great question. And obviously, you, as you grow, like you said, you might get a little further away, but your passion don't change, right? And it's up to you to maintain that. You might see, I think leadership, you can see it in so many different styles, right? And the reason for leadership, the reason for people getting into leadership are also different. My goal to get into leadership is not to just be at the top, it's to be able to impact. So there's a difference there, right? If you're not impacting, then you're not making any changes. So my passion won't change the higher I get. It probably will just fuel a little bit more. And then I'm going to have to give it to this person and that person so they can trickle it all the way down, right? So I think it's leadership is tailored to the person who is in that seat. So
Thank you.
Quiet crowd today.
yeah, fifth question.
Thank you so much for coming in and talking. You touched on it earlier about like how you started in global football and obviously the way that football, like the massive scope that it has to touch so many different people. How do you think that's influenced kind of your decision making going forward with Jordan women's sports specifically, or just like do you see your vision as far as taking Jordan women's sports or Jordan sports in general to like that same level where it has that same sort of carrying power and just resonancy within the consumer?
I love that question. Man, it's the reason why I am so excited that I started in global football. One, it's taught me merchandising. I was able to look at the business from a consumer lens and had to be super strategic about my approach in global football. And then now sitting in Jordan women's sport, I took a lot of learnings from being in global football. It is that, right? A global sport. When World Cup comes around, everyone is watching, right? So we want one day, my goal is that one day Jordan women's sport is showing up on those big stages, right? We are the face of something. We are changing and making an impact on the consumer. So yes, I'm taking a lot of the learnings that I learned in global football, and I have high hopes for where this business can grow to too.
Thank you.
Hello. I believe showing up for her starts every day, like in the workplace, at school. That's there an echo.
A little bit.
In sports. And I was wondering, as peers, as coworkers, as teammates, as managers, as leaders, how can we show up for her?
Oh, wow. That is so powerful. I feel like you should drop the mic on that one. No, it's so interesting because we talk about this all the time. Her moment is not a moment, it's a movement. It is a continuous movement. There's not one time or one space in the calendar that we should show up for her. Oh, the WNBA All Star. Oh, it's WNBA kickoff. Final Four. We have our moments where we're trying to show up for her, but it should be around the clock. So, how can we show up for her? And let's just step away from the business. Showing up for her is seeing her first. You have to see her to show up for her. And once you see her, you make sure that if there's something in front, you carve the space for her. If she's trying to get somewhere, you don't lower the ceiling for her. If there's a way to help her break through that ceiling, you get up and knock it off for her, right? So that's how we can continuously show up for her, is to do those things. And she will feel it. And she'll then show up for you. Because you know us, put you on our backs. We got this.
I even want to touch on that a little bit, Haisam. Like, just being a former athlete and obviously female in that space, I think just being an ally at the end of the day and seeing my potential for who I am, because I feel like obviously like you could check off boxes and you have all these individual attributes and things I've done, cool and great, but at the end of the day, where do you see me in the future? Like if you can elevate and see my potential for me and push me towards that even when I'm not seeing it, I think that's one of the greatest powers that people have, is being able to push others when they can't see it themselves. So
Over here.
Hi. Hey.
Maybe not. Hello.
Hello.
Johnny knows.
Growing up, did you, from an aspirational standpoint, in terms of athletes that maybe inspired you, female or male, basketball or track and field, wherever, who were they? Was there anybody you identified with? I know Patrick Ewing was back in the day from Jamaica, went to school in Cambridge and Georgetown, but with
Yeah, like I said, I told you guys earlier, I started playing basketball because of my older sister, right? So I was looking up to her. And then, when I think about, the unreachable, when I was in, I'll tell you, you guys cannot use this after this session, okay? Tell you a little secret. So when I was in middle school, everyone used to call me Baby Shaq. And I was like, come on, y'all. It's not cute enough for me, but I was the tallest in the room. So then I, had to be the last one in line, stand in the back of line, all that stuff. But, I started watching Shaq's game because he was so dominant, even though I thought I was Allen Iverson, really, because I loved his, cool moves. But it's always like a post player trying to be guard, right?
Yeah.
And then a
You got some
guard trying to
swag.
be a post player.
Exactly.
So over the years, I've mixed those two. I didn't quite become as great, but I would say I was one of those stretch forwards. Like I like to shoot the ball, I like to post up. So I added a little bit of Allen Iverson along with Shaq dominating inside. So, and then we think about female athletes. It's so interesting because I felt like it wasn't enough representation, right? We didn't even show her on TV. And it's funny because the first two names that came to mind were male athletes. And it really shows where the game is right now. If you ask a young girl who's her favorite athlete, she's probably going to say Caitlin Clark, Asia Wilson, but we didn't have those impacts when we were growing up. So it's sad to say it was two male athletes for me. Sorry I let you down.
I mean, to touch on that a little bit, I know, like, obviously we connected from Walter. I know he's online listening. Brooklyn, what's up? I know he's out there. Walt, my guy. I think one of the biggest things that I took from him, and you probably took it from him back in the day, was just the fact that he wanted to empower us females and make sure we had that leader from starting off and starting the gaucho side of girls basketball when there was none. And just doing a great job of keeping us connected to make sure I could look up to someone like you, right? Like I came out here all the way by myself, had no idea who I was going to meet, who I was going to be with, and he was like, I got you. This is future you in a couple of years, literally your twin. So I think also being in spaces like that kind of have helped at least us a little bit. We need to do better, obviously, so we can grow up and say like, hey, I want to be like such and such. But it's those small moments that I honestly took from my personal experiences being put in scenarios with coaches like Walter and you coming back and seeing you speak. So,
yeah. I mean,
you could be my Caitlin Clark. It's all good.
Listen to you, Jordan. Don't let him cry. No.
Thank you so much for coming in. It's very obvious how you carry yourself is very well positioned, very poised, and also very genuine. I'm curious about how you navigate confidence, especially when people tell you no. Does that drive a little bit more fire? Do you find ways to kind of maneuver around that? I guess the analogy is like either you bulldoze through the brick wall or you find a way up and around it or over it. I'm curious about that.
No, for me, means I didn't go hard enough. It might mean maybe not right now, but it never means no. No means how can I try again? And how can I get around and beyond the place that I'm trying to go to? So, being in a space where you're going to hear a lot of no's. I think that growing up, I heard a lot of no's. Like, you want to be a basketball player at that level? Oh, well, I guess you're tall enough. You're pretty, you kind of suck. You're not that great. You hear a lot of no's, but how do you get past the no? You put in the work. You put in the work until the no that you heard came back to tell you yes. You don't even have to go tell them and ask them again because they see the work that you're putting in. You let your work speak for itself. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone, especially when you hear no's. It just means that I'm going to go harder. Oh, tell me no, and I'm going to show you. I'm show you why it's yes.
Um, my question is like I know you're in merch, and as someone aspiring to be in merch, I know like people continue to tell you like to get to know what the job is, you kind of have to do it. But obviously, all of us are like kind of in school and probably haven't had too much experience yet. So my question to you is like, how do you continue to stay like versatile and be good at the job that you do? Hopefully, that doesn't sound crazy. I'm sorry.
No, I got you. So just to give you a little picture of what merchandising is, right? So it's a little bit, we always say it's a little bit of art and science. Um, you have to know your consumer. This is how you stay up on being a good merch, right? You always have to challenge the status quo. You always have to go past where maybe even your work requires. So it's funny because I had an intern last summer and she did a project, Maddie did a project, and she was always on TikTok. And I'm like, she's like, yeah, I got to go on TikTok to we gave her this project and she did a lot of her project on TikTok. Why? Because
Consumer is.
why?
That's where the consumer is.
There's where the consumer is. So Maddie kind of put me on the spot because now I had to download TikTok because she's gone, and then it went away and then it came back. I'm not really sure. So it's, it's so interesting because how you stay alert and being a good merchant is to always stay connected with the consumer. If you are doing what the consumer wants, then you are doing the right job. If you're doing what you want to do, oh, forget about it. That stuff's gonna sit on the shelves forever. So we learned that, and obviously we study the market. We make sure this is how we know what's selling. We know where we need to adjust. We talk to our geographies, and that's how we can make good decisions. But it starts with the consumer. You can learn your consumer. You can be the best merchant out there.
I know we had a class balancing. Sorry if I stop everybody. PLM merchandising kind of had a combination of that. Do you ever have to tell your PLM now? I know they're very proud of their briefs and products that they put out there, but sometimes they might not always fall in line of what is necessary because they might love it more than others. But how do you balance saying yes, no? Do you have to say no?
Yes. So I think so. The merchant position owns majority of the line plan. It's a collaboration with product, but the merch has to have a strong point of view on what the line should look like. There's always some white spaces for product and creation to do something new. But when we have to say no to product, it's not because we want to say no. It's because we've done our studies and we realize that what we are doing is not working. So, and that's how we come with these statistics, right? We show up and with the science and we say, well, this is the reason why. Now, you can make it on your off time, but it's not going to make it to market, you know? So, how do you say no? It's more so, it's a partnership. If you take your product partner along on the journey with you and you educate them on why it's a no, then it won't even feel like a no to them. It would feel like it's right. We're just doing the right thing for the consumer. So.
I feel like we're still on the topic of, product and what's in your product line. And a lot of companies are still on that mindset of shrink it and pink it for a lot of female products. So what do you think is missing in terms of product innovation, either specifically for females or just in general?
That's a good question. I think that we are continuously trying to figure out who she is, right? So when we think about the innovation, we continue to try to figure out where she's going, but not today, but like where she will be in 2 years from now, you know? So what is missing is really us just continuing to like study what makes her feel better, what her comfort, her fit. Though, you know, we can make it's not just a cookie cutter type of approach. We have to figure out how we can make what's right for all consumers, but in such a unique way. And if you know her, because you are her, right? If you know her, you can know that we come in all shapes and sizes. So we still have an opportunity to figure her out in those ways, as far as like what she likes, the fit, and also what makes her show up better.
Oh, sorry. Sipping on the John.
Thank you. You talked about the white space earlier, and obviously, like with women's sports, they're already kind of underserved or underrepresented. Like, how do you feel you guys are carving out different white spaces in that sort of space in general already, or like, do you find that you are looking actively for like new avenues within the space? Because again, it's just kind of the community was underserved, and now they're finally being elevated to the platform that they deserve. But how do you guys stay curious and keep pushing things forward of like where can things go? Where do we see things?
Yeah, that's a great question. We continue to talk to our athletes. We have athletes on our roster that we continue to talk to, but not just them. The consumer that's going to be wearing the product. So we realize, I think, where Jordan Women's Sport has been, it's more, I would say, we have a standard approach to what she should look like. Where we are going is more exciting, new, fresh. We're going to make her feel good about what she's wearing. Confidence is really important in women's basketball or women attire, period. I don't know if you guys saw like the recent release of our Air Series shoes. That is a Jordan women's led shoe. And our approach with that is to make something special for her. There's no actual athlete tie to it, but the stories that we're telling around that shoe is phenomenal. When you put the shoe on, you should feel, we dropped, I think it was Treat Yourself the other day on Valentine's Day. I hope y'all got that, you know, and if you didn't, go out and get it now. But yeah, we tell these unique stories to bring her to life. And I think there was the first one, Her Collective. that was a story around all our athletes and their favorite colors coming together on one shoe. That's the Air Series with all the different colors. Showstopper with the prints all over the shoe. It's just telling different stories that get our consumers excited about knowing more about her. So that's the new approach that we're taking. It's not just placing a product in the market, but also storytelling.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hi there. About a year and a half ago, I had the opportunity to meet Natalie White, a former player, and learn her story about the brand Moolah that she created in collaboration with Dick's Sporting Goods. So my question is, number one, do you see Moolah as a competition in the women's basketball space? And if not, are there any competitors in your lane?
Everyone. Listen, you come up with a shoe, you're going to be my competitor. You know, listen, you can't sleep on anybody. When you start sleeping is when you get trampled on, okay? So yes, I know Moolah. I think she's done an amazing job with that brand. I think that was one of the first approach of making a non-stick shoe, just solely depend. She makes it based on their cut, based on all these things to speak and uplift women. So I love the story there. Yes, I see her, and we do have our eyes on you. Okay, so slow down. No, no. We see everyone as competitors. If you're in the space, you're a competitor because as soon as we close our eyes, you run past us. Okay, so the way to keep your foot on the gas is to always, you don't look behind you. You ever see a runner? You see Usain Bolt when he running? Yes, until you might see some people in front of you right now, because I feel like that's could be where Jordan Sport could be. Might see some people in front of us, but as we keep sprinting, we're going to start looking beside, and then we're going to look at the finish line. But then we're going to keep looking at the side and checking the sides as we get further along. So don't lose sight of your competitor.
Always on offense?
Always on the offense. There you go. I know you. Okay, you know our. All right.
Hello there. In the middle. I've got 1.2 questions. First question, economics. In regards to like creating product, I think the majority of it a lot of shoes are done in either basically China, and then some people still do things in Italy. But seeing between global tariffs, the world is not as agreeable as it used to be. Do you think Jordan will shift their manufacturing somewhere else, or do you know what's their medium to long-term game plan for manufacturing?
That is a question that I do not have the answer to.
Right.
But I think that is something to think about. That is definitely not my area of expertise. That's more of like the factory partners and all of that. But I have not heard anything about a shift in our distribution channels or our manufacturing channels, yes.
My point two of a question. Earlier, you were mentioning like when you work with the product team, as you're like a merchandiser and you get like all the data and statistics and stuff. Could you give an example where they wanted to do something and then you came back with information and said, like, could you give a discrete example where they had something and you said, based on XYZ, you should say it's not the right thing to do.
Not the right thing to do. Oh, wow. I've had so many of those, but oh, wow. So, I think back into I would think back into my global football days, because it's long behind. So when we think about making products, it's down to the product, how it performs, the technology behind it, but also the look, the feel, what the consumer experience is going to be like. I remember my product team wanted to make I think the base of the ball was like a green ball, and it was like green as the grass. And basically, after communicating with my geographies, they're like, for the seasonality of that, we are not going to adopt that because the consumer is not going to be able to see that ball in in a certain weather. So during the holiday time, we have to make high vis balls, which is like the high visibility on the ball. So you're able to see it in certain weather. So though the product team thought the ball was going to be so amazing and it looked really good, I had to really tap into what the insights were along with the numbers and communicating with my geographies and did what makes sense for the business. So we shifted the base of the ball to a different color in order for it to sit well in the marketplace. So that's kind of like an example of doing the right thing.
Hi. Um, Going back to the conversation about competition, I was wondering, like, do you ever feel like you have to compete with Nike, or like within the company, do you have to fight for space in that area?
Ooh, you're gonna get me in trouble. No, yes. So, like I said, Nike's like our big brother, but they're also our competitor, right? So we are showing up on the same shelves together. We have a friendly competition going on. Sometimes not so friendly. Move over, but it is a competition. If you're another brand that's going to be on the shelf with us, we see it as a competition, but we also see it as like, man, what are they doing right? Right? Also, we also have to take notes and not copy what they're doing, but see how we can be better. So, and how can we create a space for both Nike and Jordan to live as a family on that shelf and tell a unique story across the brand? That is really our ultimate goal, is to not necessarily knock them off the shelf, but elevate both brands. And so we do create more space, especially for Jordan Women's Sport and for all those other products to live, like the, Asia's and Caitlin Clark's and what they're doing on the other side. Yeah.
Hi there. Thank here.
Oh.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you very much for your sharing. I actually have several questions. First is, I think what are Nike's consumers are also the same consumer group of other brands. So my first question is, do we need to differentiate?
I got
Yeah,
you.
differentiate the merchandising of Nike from other brands, and what are the parameters to consider for the differentiation?
It's a great question. I think that for any brand to show up, you have to be unique to you. I think that Nike is doing a, I think recently especially, is doing a really good job of how they're showing up to the consumer. Did you see the commercial during the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I was like, man, that was good. You know, so yes, it is important to show up and differentiate yourself from the consumer. You do not want to be Lululemon. You do not want to be another Aloe or any one of those brands. You recognize their importance in the space, but you do not want to be like them. You have to be unique to yourself. It's just like Jordan. We do not want to be like Nike. We have to be Jordan, and how are we Jordan? Come on, man. Y'all know we got style, So we have to tap into our superpower of being different and being okay with being different. That's how you're going to set yourself apart from the competitor.
Yeah, so second question is how to define the sales improvement is from the merchandising improvement rather than the retailers hard working. I know that Nike has changed a bit of direction from the online business to retailers. So how do we define whether it's merchandising success or it's retailers' success or because of their hard working?
I think it's our success. It's our success. So it's not one or the other. So you're saying, is it the merchandising excellence that's showing up here, or is it the retail excellence, right? And no, it's actually all together. What we're doing in the brand, you said we're moving more so from back into stores, right? So you're seeing us more presence into the stores as opposed to solely online. Obviously, we went through a period of time where we all had to be online, right? So we're definitely moving back into some of those spaces. And that is a partnership with our retailers, from merchandising to our, you know, channel partners. We are working, it's a chain. So we are working all together to make the right fit. So that success is all of our success, for sure.
Yeah, I guess cooperation is the key of success.
Exactly.
So, yeah. And then do you have any conflicting moments in your daily work that you might want to go through this direction of merchandising based on statistics, rather the managers don't agree with you? And then how do you figure it out?
You know, I've been super blessed to have managers that listen, right? So I remember one of my in my last role leaving, my manager, he's like, listen, you're on the business. We go into leadership meetings. He's like, you're coming. It's not my business, you know? So, and same in my role now, you know, they empower us to make decisions. I think that being a good manager is not trying to make the decision for your team. It's empowering and educating your team on how we all get to the right decision for the consumer. Because at the end of the day, it's not who's right or who's wrong. It's, okay, what is the right solution for the consumer? So personally, I've been in a space where I've been able to really show up and give my perspective on what the business, and I've been empowered to do so on the business that I've served. So
I'm really glad to hear that. I guess understanding and listening is also very important for the cooperation. So my final question is, I saw an advertisement video about you can't win as ladies, so win. So, and also feminine feminism is also very important in the marketing, especially the consumer goods industry. So my question is, what do you think of what is feminism in your opinion, and what is feminism in Jordan's opinion? I mean, the brand opinion. And that's all my questions. Thank you very much.
Oh, you sure you want to take your foot off the gas? No, you've been killing it. I appreciate all the questions. So, yeah, man, when Nike dropped that commercial, you can't win, so win. It's like someone telling you can't do something. I think someone asked a question about the no. It's exactly that. As far as our voice in Jordan, it's really standing her up uniquely, making her feel comfortable being different, making her stand apart from the pack with her own unique style, and really embracing her in that light. So that is our point of view from a women's feminine and energy in Jordan brand. We want her to look different. It is similar but different to Nike, where we've been told no a lot of times. It's always been maybe this is just a Nike thing, or this is just a even streetwear thing. When we think about Jordan women's sport, we want to show up and be different for her. and just elevate her in a unique way.
Kobe.
I just have a question. So obviously Nike has their own signature athlete, and Jordan Brand has their own signature athlete. I was wondering if they're looking for different things because they're different brands, or since like Jordan Brand is technically like under Nike's like company. I was wondering if you guys are looking at the same thing, but you kind of share.
That's a good question. So this is definitely more on the sports marketing side, but from what I can tell you is the brand, when we sign athletes, they have to be unique to the brand. They have to fit our what we like our vision and where we're going. I think a Nike athlete can be a Nike athlete and show up unique for Nike, and maybe not show up as authentic to Jordan, right? So there is a lot of thought process that goes behind when we sign athletes. We really think about who is going to really be able to tell the story of the brand. So that's how that makes sense across Nike and Jordan.
Sorry, just one more follow-up question from that.
No problem.
um, I'm not trying to sound like old, but back in my day, like early,
Back
I'm,
in my
okay,
day.
I'm not that old.
Alex, we're the
Now,
same age.
now, back in your day,
So,
what
yeah,
do you think about my days?
what I'm trying to say is, when I was a kid, when I hear Jordan Brand, I hear of athlete-wise, I think of high flyers, highlight dunks. But now, if you see Jordan Brand athlete, Jason Tatum, well, Zion's a high flyer, Trey Young, you see, what should I say, athlete doesn't really, what I think doesn't represent Jordan Brand. So I was wondering if there, at what point there was a culture shift, like, I know Jordan's all about flight, all about air. The game's changing. We gotta find a new athlete who doesn't typically fit into our Jordan athlete.
You know, you threw the heat on that one. That was a good one. Nobody can fly like Jordan, right? So I think back in your days, really it's back in my days, we were watching the man himself. You know, he was flying all over the place. So like I said, I think it's more so choosing the athlete, just looking at their complete story, right? Not even just their on the court, but if you think about what I want you guys to look out for when you see a Jordan product, and I hope that the product speak for itself, but think about the stories that we tell behind the product. If we are able to tell unique stories to those products. And if you think about a Luka shoe or a Tatum shoe, what is behind those stories is what makes the Jordan Brand athletes a little different, right? Not necessarily, they're not all gonna fly like Jordan, because we just can't replace Jordan, but we can try to find some areas of unique power to uplift those athletes in their own image.
You got bounce.
I got no.
One more. Zeke.
I'm coming.
Thank you. Hi, how are you? I have a question and trying to phrase it so it doesn't sound too heavy, but I grew up in LA in an area that was predominantly black and brown. Jordans were often seen as a symbol of status. One side of the coin, like tax season's coming up, get some Jordans. Your grades were good, and we'll get you some Jordans. But the other side, it's like, don't walk home alone wearing the shoes, right? And I guess from a merchandising perspective, like how do you make the shoes more accessible to those marginalized communities, and like how do you keep from devaluing the brand with that type of initiative?
That's a great question.
Can you stand up, young man? No, I'm just joking. You know, that is definitely, I'm pretty sure you're talking about the high heat products that we drop. You know, most see some heat on your feet. Yeah, so I think it's one way or the other, right? You know, you either make them super accessible and then no one want probably, you know, oh, I can get them tomorrow. I think it's part of really merchandising is a part of running a business is um, supply and demand, right? So you know that the consumer sometimes let me phrase this. If there's a piece of pie that sits there for about 10 hours, you still want it? If it goes away, if it goes away in 2 seconds, the next time the pie sits there, are you gonna say, "I'll see it later"? No, you're gonna get the pie as soon as it gets it comes out. So I think that we're trying to maintain a happy medium of being able to make products accessible and also having some maintaining our exclusivity because we are at the end of the day the Jordan brand. Come on now, we can't all be fly, you know.
Shout it out. Go for it. Just here.
Okay, no. All right. Well, I was just curious from like a merchandising perspective, and like Zeke made a good point, right, about
Yes.
like walking around in certain shoes, like being a little bit more careful. But like with the recent heists and stuff, with like the trains and the bike airs, like how, from your perspective as a merchandiser, like how do you deal with that, or do you even have to deal with anything like the repercussions from lost inventory or things like that? Or is that like, would you as a merchandiser necessarily capitalize on that hype where it's like, look, people are like really trying to go get this like this shoe in this sort of aspect? Just kind of wanted to get your take on that.
Not sure you repeat the question.
Like the Nigel Sylvester brick,
Okay.
yeah, how they
Ye-
got the like, however many it was. Got,
Okay. Oh yes.
yeah.
Oh.
Like, do you deal with that, or would
I,
it?
I do not. I do not manage that business. So I don't have the ins and outs of that, nor probably would I be able to tell you anything on that.
Oh yeah.
You, Alex.
We're definitely gonna leave a mic, but with you back there.
Sorry, yeah. Another question. I think it was a year ago. I saw a YouTube video from Jordan Brand saying that they signed Zion, Tatum, and Luca to represent each aspect of the basketball game. So Luca's the fly. No, I mean Zion's the fly. Luca's a step back. Yeah. So I was wondering if Jordan Women's brand are planning to do the same thing. Maybe not like fly step back, or they have like maybe. Are you guys planning to come up with like 3 unique play style for women and sign each athlete with it, and maybe like a line related to that if it's possible?
Are you giving me some suggestions back there?
No. I was just like
Seems like
wondering.
you're, might be needing to take some notes. No, I think that the brand is continuously looking for the right female athlete that is going to be able to represent the brand in a unique way. So it doesn't necessarily have to mirror what's been done on the male side, but it's more so wanting to make sure that we are speaking clearly to her. So when she comes, you will see her. That's all I can say.
I want to double check with our online group, see if anybody
Yeah.
has any questions there. Give them the opportunity to ask as well.
You can type it in the chat.
Yeah, and leave that in the chat if you can.
Shouts out to my mom and my sister and
My mom, Jennifer, you got a question? See you up there,
my
Jen.
sister-in-law on the call.
Yeah, that's my mom. Hi, mom. Hi, dad. He's there too. Yeah.
My sister and I were in the same blazer today. You can only see the blazer on her picture, but
She gave you a heart.
Oh, love you too, mom.
Any other audience questions? We can wrap it up on a fun one. In your time working with Nike, working whether it be football or with Jordan, What has been like a highlight like product moment? Like I know we're all very excited to like get into the industry and really be like hands-on with products. Like what's like a highlight moment that you're like, yeah, like I helped with that, I worked on that, like I'm proud of this.
Oh my God. So, okay. So I recently just got on Jordan women's sport. So a lot of the things that I plan have not hit market yet. Now, yeah, this is the most excited I'm going to get about soccer, football, really. I'm sure you guys saw all the retro balls that came out with the Merlin, the Autumn, the T90, all. That was me. Yes. So yeah, I was super excited about that project. We basically retro a lot of our balls. It was celebrating the 25-year relationship that we have with the Premier League. So that was amazing to be able to be a part of that project. Another one is like we reset our balls and then it landed in market. And when I saw the everything show up, I was like, oh my gosh. When I first got to global football, we didn't have the same connection. So I don't know if it's showing up. I hope you guys are seeing this because maybe I'm just psyching myself out. But there was an opportunity to connect our balls and our gloves back to the boot and having the whole fit come together from accessories, footwear, apparel. And I worked on that. And then when the first time I saw the whole connection, the gear up moment come to life, oh my gosh. So that's the most exciting I'm going to get about global football. But yes, those are the projects that I've worked on and super thrilled about it.
Gotta wait a year for Jordan.
Listen, I'm gearing up for y'all. So make sure the Air Series, Air Series. Come on. Yes, so I was a part of the Air Series also. There was a team that obviously started the plan of the Air Series, and I took that over. So a lot of what you're seeing come into life, you're starting to see, Spring 25 going forward is going to be stuff that I've worked on. So super, super excited.
Okay, we're gonna actually wrap up. Can we get another round of applause for Jordan and Vanessa? We do have the space until 6:30, so there's still like food and drinks in the back. Feel free to take advantage of those. In the meantime, we do have a little gift as a thank you for Vanessa. Yes.
Thank you. You're welcome. Y'all trying to hoop? We got
Well,
2 and
thank
2
you
outside
all
right
for
now.
listening.
Anybody's trying to go?
For the last few hours.
Huh? Alex, we've talked about this,
crossover.
Alex. We've talked about this. That I don't know about that knee over there. That kneecap. I don't know about that.